Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new week on Celtic AM. I sense we're going to have a little bit of fun today after yet another Celtic derby victory. Celtic 3, Rangers 0 yesterday. Me and Stevie did the match reaction afterwards. Stevie still from inside Celtic Park. He's actually still there, believe it or not. Check that video out if you haven't already. In terms of today's video, I'm going to take a bit of another look at the game, laugh a little bit more at our rivals. I'm going to read out some of your comments, and we're going to hear what Brendan Rodgers had to say to the media at Celtic Park after the game. Yeah, Gig Pod were there, so we'll catch up with that later on. It's just glorious times to be a Celtic fan, isn't it? You wake up in the morning after these games and you have that moment when you remember we are so far on top. We've won another derby, and you've always got this thing in the back of your mind when the times are good telling you to appreciate them so much, because they're not going to be like this forever, and you never do fully appreciate it. You're always kind of looking at the next game or something like that. But it feels to me like the good times are going to be continuing for a while yet. I think the scary thing for, Rangers and the rest of Scottish football is that for as well as we've started this season, you sense that there's still more levels to this Brendan Rodgers Celtic team. We're going to push through those over the coming months. So massively exciting. These derbies are becoming... what can I say, a little bit of a foregone conclusion. You look at the last 12, we've won 9 of the last 12, drawn 2 and lost just 1, and that one, as you may remember, was the one that didn't matter after we'd already won the league a couple of years ago. Our record in these fixtures is unbelievable, and yesterday to me felt like it might have been the biggest gulf of all of those matches. I know one of them was a 4-0. Yesterday almost felt like a bigger gulf between the sides. We scored 3 goals. We had one incredibly narrow decision to rule that one offside. We'll maybe touch on that. And we also passed up, 3 glorious opportunities. You'd maybe even call them sitters. Hatate, Bernardo in the first half. Kyogo, the one when he was sent through in the second half. It could quite easily have been a 5-0 victory for Celtic. And I don't think anyone would have been able to complain about that. I know Philippe Clement's come out with his usual thing after the game, looking at the stats and saying it was an even game. I don't think even the most ardent of Rangers fan would look at that and think that the stats were a fair reflection of the game. Celtic were totally dominant in that match, and as I say, 3-0 did flatter Rangers. A lot been made of the start that Rangers made in the game. I watched the first 10 minutes back of the match earlier today just to get a kind of feeling for it when you're away from the nerves of the occasion, if you did have nerves yesterday, because I didn't massively. It's not as if Rangers were completely battering us in that first half. We still had a couple of breaks forward. There was one when Greg Taylor went to the byline and cut it back, and it was just a bit in front of Dies and Maida. Rangers had a couple of chances. I think a point that a few of you made yesterday was that the 2 big chances they had. Desser's one where he kind of sent through and he cut inside and shot it right at Schmeichel, and also the header for Matondo. They were both offside, so their 2 best chances were offside, so they weren't really chances at all. They wouldn't have counted. So I think it was quite an even start, even though people maybe have it built into their minds that Rangers were completely peppering our goal. That wasn't the case in the first 10 minutes. They were pressing us, though. I think it's fair to say they were forcing us into some mistakes. We looked a bit uncomfortable in the first 10 minutes. That's something that Brendan Rodgers spoke about. Cameron Carter-Vickers had one where he passed it out of the park. Rio Hatate did the exact same. So I don't know if I'd go as far as saying we were flustered. Maybe you would say that. I don't know. It was a nervy start from Celtic, and then there was a moment that changed it all, and I was trying to just kind of find the specific moment that changed the course of this match. And I'm not saying that if this moment hadn't have happened, we wouldn't have gone on to win the game. I think we would have, regardless, because we're so much better than them, and we would have found a way to do it. But I did just want to speak about this moment. So this is around 10 minutes into the game, and we've got the ball there. Alistair Johnson's got it here, and Rangers are aggressive in their press. They're really going after us. You can see 4 players there going, that's man for man, isn't it? And just keep an eye on the right there, and that's Diamandi and Callum McGregor just behind him. And Diamandi was the guy that was sent yesterday to deal with Callum McGregor and to stop him playing. He was doing that for the first 2 or 3 minutes of the match, and I think it's something that Neil McCann on Sky Sports, he picked out the fact that Diamandi was doing that. We then go on to the next screenshot, and this is just maybe a couple of seconds on. What's happened is Johnson's played the ball in, that's Hatate on the ball there, and Callum McGregor has left Diamandi. He's just sold him a bit of a dummy, obviously off the ball, and Diamandi is now chasing shadows, and McGregor receives the ball from Hatate, and suddenly he's breaking into space, and we've taken 6 Rangers players out of the game. You then move it on. McGregor doesn't mess about. He plays it through for Kuhn, and there's the other 4 Rangers outfielders. So 6 of them are up the other end of the park. They've got no midfield at all, and the other 4 are there, and suddenly we're in. Now, obviously, Kuhn squares it for Kyogo. The goal doesn't count because Kuhn was offside, and I think that is too close to call. I want to see a better camera angle than that, calling it for VAR, because you wonder how much margin for error there is in that. Maybe we have to trust the system, but for me that looks sketchy, let's just say. Anyway, we won the game 3-0, so I won't go on about that too much, but I basically felt that moment there, Callum McGregor dropping Diamandi, receiving the ball, breaking the lines, and then finding Kuhn so quickly, that was the moment that it just brought Celtic Park to life. I think it just gave our players the confidence that it was going to be another one of those days, and I guess it put the doubt and the fear into Rangers that it was going to be another one of those days. I thought that was a major moment, even though the goal didn't count. It told our players, even if they're coming after us, if we can just break that press and have the confidence to break that press, we will have so much joy, because you just had evidence of it there. From that point, we were totally in control. I thought it was remarkable how open Rangers were in that first half. As I said, Hatate and Bernardo both have unbelievable chances. I mean, Hatate's is on a plate for him. Bernardo's, I am gutted that Bernardo didn't hit that shot with more power, because for me that would have been an iconic Celtic goal. The way he danced beyond 2 or 3 Rangers players, it would have been a goal we watched back for years, and his performance deserved that. But obviously it wasn't to be. But had they taken those, we would have been 4-0 up at half time, and those were chances that should have gone in. Rangers created nothing in that first half, absolutely nothing. And I just think we're a joy to watch when we're confident playing through that press. We have such good midfielders. The difference between our midfielders and their midfielders yesterday in terms of quality was just so apparent. McGregor, Hatate, and I thought Hatate was slack at times yesterday. I don't think it was a brilliant game from him. But then again, he's involved in so many brilliant moments. Even when he's not at his best, he gives you those moments. And Bernardo, obviously, brilliant yesterday. And then you get to the front 3, and the McGregor spoke about it after the game. The goal is for the team to get the ball to those front 3, because the 3 of them have so much pace. They're electric. And I don't know about you, but obviously the Champions League's going to be a different level. We're going to play teams better than Rangers. I actually personally think that Slovan Bratislava in the first game is going to be more of a test than Rangers were yesterday. So you're going up the levels, but you look at that front 3, and I just think Nicholas Kuhn could light up the Champions League when he's going to have space to run into. Like we saw in pre-season, like we saw yesterday. It is just such a wonderful thought. Nicholas Kuhn in that Champions League level. Kyogo, likewise. Daisen Maeda as well. Very different to Nicholas Kuhn in the way he goes about his business, but Maeda was such an outlet for us in the left-hand side yesterday. So, it fills me with so much excitement. Maybe what I would say is the first 10 minutes and the way Rangers pressed us, and we did look a bit unsure, maybe just reminds you that when top European teams are pressing us, we will have difficult moments as well. And for me, it's about finding a way out of those difficult moments quickly, because we can become a bit sloppy like we did in the first 10 minutes. And obviously, if you're up against better European teams, it will be longer than 10 minutes. You're like that. But if we can find a way to beat the press, we are going to score goals in this Champions League. and it'll probably come down to how many we concede. So many players to pick out from yesterday. No surprise that number you went for Paulo Bernardo. Like Ryan, 100% Bernardo dominated. Man of the match, without a doubt. We had another user there who needs to get a slightly better name, but thanks for commenting, saying Bernardo's going to eclipse Matt O'Reilly this season. He's been let off the leash now. He's a baller and he'll shine in the CL. Yeah, it's a big statement, I think, to say that he'll be better than O'Reilly. I do think Bernardo already looks a lot better than last season, and that was the hope when we signed him, that giving him a permanent home, a bit of responsibility, a bit of confidence, would see a better version of Paulo Bernardo. He wasn't bad at all last season, but I would say yesterday's performance was better than anything he put in last season at all. So that's hugely encouraging. He's a real classy player to watch. He's not particularly quick, but as I said yesterday to Stevie, I felt Rangers players were bouncing off him yesterday. Like, he looked really strong, really good in tight areas. I'm so excited to see how he's going to move forward and the options we seem to have in midfield. If he's playing like that, Hatate, McGregor, get Engels coming into things, and I thought he looked pretty good when he came on. Luke McCown's going to be there as well. So we've got options in midfield. It's very exciting. Right, we've got another username here saying Scales, Kuhn, Kyogo, CCV, McGregor. The full team was outstanding. Scales, for me, man of the match. Yeah, Liam Scales was brilliant. Brendan Rodgers was asked about him after the game and spoke very positively about his performance and his importance over the past 12 months. We'll hear that shortly. We had Andrew Haney saying, it's funny Hamish saying about the lack of nerves. I've supported Celtic from the 60s and the build-up to these games was always of nervous anticipation. But when Brendan came the last time, the gut-wrench feeling on derby games disappeared and I felt really confident even at Ibrox. Great stuff, boys. Yeah, I just felt it's such ease yesterday watching the game, and like, I'm well aware part of that might be that I'm now on the other side of the world, and I dare say, like, well, from my own experience anyway, going to the games you always feel a bit more nervous just because it's such a kind of intense environment actually being at the match, and it's just so raw, I guess. When you're at home, you've got that bit of distance and it's easier, you're sitting down in a living room, etc. So I dare say, me being in Australia had a bit to do with that. It's the first derby of the season. I thought we would win convincingly going into the game, so maybe I was just relaxed generally. But the thing that got me was even in the first 10 minutes when Rangers had their best spell of the game, I felt really relaxed. And I know previously, if that had been the case, I would have been like really, really nervous about them getting the first goal. I think even if they had scored in that first 10 minutes, I would have felt pretty confident we would have calmed ourselves, got our composure back and gone on to win the game. And that's kind of how I feel when we play like Hearts or Hibs or Kilmarnock. It's the calmest I have ever been during a derby yesterday. I can say that confidently. Maybe actually when I think, maybe the Invincible season there was a few, like the 5-1 at Ibrox was an absolute shoe-in right from the start. But I don't know, yesterday just felt like so calm. I enjoyed watching the game yesterday. You're not meant to enjoy derbies, are you? Derbies, like Celtic Rangers games, are meant to be horrible. From my memory, they start, you spend the whole week buzzing for them to start, and in the minute they start, you kind of want them over because you're just so nervous throughout. That's how I remember derbies growing up, and even a couple of years ago, like the ones at Hampden and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, yesterday just felt so comfortable for me, and I was so calm throughout. I don't know if any of you, maybe if any that were at the game, did it feel the same at the match? I should probably have asked Stevie that yesterday, but let me know. We get Danny saying, thanks Hamish and Stevie, great video as always. Hamish, I was watching the game with my 95-year-old dad in his nursing home, so I also couldn't make much noise. I stood like you quietly, arms aloft, hail, hail. Amazing stuff, Danny. Great memories. It's funny watching a game in a place where you can't necessarily make too much noise. It was like midnight here last night, so I couldn't really go too mad. But yeah, there's something quite enjoyable about just celebrating a goal like that and not jumping around the place. So So yeah, fantastic. Loved that comment. We've got Stephen simply saying we are years ahead of them. And yes, Stephen, I agree totally. I think, these things can always change quickly. I guess last time when Brendan Rodgers was at the club, it felt like we were a good bit ahead of them, and it obviously changed quickly. They ended up winning the league in the season that shall not be named. But you do look at the situation right now, and there's such a huge gulf between the teams, and I think that's the thing that's dawning on our rivals, and I think that's why we saw such anger yesterday. Chris Boyd after the game was extremely frustrated. I would say as annoyed as I've seen him so far. He usually kind of puts on a bit of a kind of face and deals with things. But yesterday he just seemed like he was at his wit's end with this Rangers team, and probably at his wit's end just with being second best to Celtic. And listen, he's a Rangers fan, like that's how he's going to feel. And obviously you'll all have seen the scenes at Ibrox, Rangers fans, not loads of them, but certainly some of them turning up to give the team abuse after the game. They are totally fed up, and I think from their point of view, and I'm not going to spend too much time on them, but I think from their point of view, the difficult thing would be like you don't even see any real hope for them. I don't think Rangers are much better than they showed yesterday. It wasn't like it was an off day or anything. It was just like, and it wasn't even as if Celtic were like unbelievable. Like I think in the 4-0 win and under Ange, and the 3-0 win, the famous one, the night one under Ange, I think we're probably better in those two games than we were yesterday. Certainly more ruthless. Yesterday we were great, but you feel like there's even more to come from this Celtic team. If anything, you feel like the gap might get bigger. And you look at the starting lineups yesterday, it's a point that I made yesterday. It struck me looking at someone, just to pick a random Rangers player out, right? It struck me looking at Connor Barron, who's kind of their new go-to guy, the guy who was apparently going to sort Callum McGregor out in that Rangers midfield. Would Connor Barron even get on the Celtic bench? Like, genuinely, would a player from Aberdeen even get on the Celtic bench? I'm really not so sure. And then you look at our bench from yesterday and you go through them, and James Forrest starts for Rangers, Arnie Engels starts for Rangers, Alex Valle starts for Rangers, Trusty would start for Rangers based on their defence yesterday. I'm pretty sure Lewis Palma would start for them. I don't know if I mentioned Adam Ida, but he would certainly start ahead of Dessers. McCowan would probably be in with a shout of starting based on guys like Barron and Tom Lawrence getting game time. Like a couple of years ago when you looked at Rangers, like there were some players you would look at and you'd go, right, fair enough, don't particularly like them, but they're like decent enough players. But they just have nobody now I think I would even take in our team. It's a hell of a gulf, and that's before you even get on to the manager and how engaged a fan base we have, and the money that we have as well. That if things were going wrong and we felt we wanted to strengthen, then we'd go and do it. Like we've just spent 11 or 12 million pounds on our record signing, and like the players Rangers are signing in comparison, it's like it's a different world. Honestly, it's mad. And I guess from a Rangers point of view, you look at it now and do you sack Clement and look for a new manager for the fourth autumn in a row, and get someone new in, and the fans for the first few months suddenly get quite excited about this guy being the guy who's going to stop Celtic, and then they kind of gradually find out that Celtic are just so far ahead of them that it's not going to be the guy, and then they claim that it's not the guy's team yet. They give him the summer window, he signs some of his own players, and then shock horror, Celtic are dominant over them again, and they look for a new manager. Like that's the cycle they've been on recently. Or do they, as I'm seeing a lot of Rangers fans say now, do they just stick with Clement and hope that things are going to get better and give him a bit of time? But as I say, like they don't seem like they're going to get close to us. They might beat us this season in a game, a one-off game. We'll wait and see. But like we're going to win the league this year. I don't think there's much doubt about that already. The only thing that would stop us would be complacency, and I don't think we're going to see that from this Celtic team. So yeah, it's their fans have obviously not taken the defeat well. They were abusing Hall of Fame inductee James Tavernier. So things aren't going to go well. And obviously you don't want to get ahead of yourself as a Celtic fan, but for me, I'm just looking at the UEFA Champions League this season as being what we should really have our focus on. Obviously you never take your eye off the ball league-wise, but like that's where the real tests are going to come in the UEFA Champions League this year. And I think the fixtures have come out nicely, and I think we have a real opportunity in that competition. It's still going to be difficult. We're going to lose games. We're going to face quality that we're not going to face anywhere else, even against teams like Rangers. But I'm already eyeing that Slovan Bratislava game up in match day 1, and if we can win that, imagine how everyone's going to be feeling going into the rest of the campaign. And by the way, they lost 5-0 at home yesterday to MSK Zelina. So they're maybe not doing too well. Right, final comment from 12v12 saying 6 hours played and 0 goals conceded. Yeah, no goals conceded so far in the league. Kasper Schmeichel did at least have a couple of saves to make yesterday. Did well for the Ross McCausland one later on. That was really the only clear-cut chance that Rangers had. So yeah, teams don't even really look like scoring against us. Fantastic. I enjoyed this tweet from Moussa Dembele, who is just getting more and more edgy as time goes on. Why are we still playing them? Waste of time, but enjoying to see them crash again and again. And what, seven laughing emojis over the course of that tweet, and an eye roll in there as well. So just another hugely enjoyable day for Celtic fans around the world, and obviously those at Celtic Park as well. Great pre-match tifo from the Green Brigade. Fabulous stuff. One just before the second half as well was great. Let Celtic flourish, it says. So, yeah, great stuff. Scenes at the end were also fabulous. Keep an eye out for a crutch making an appearance at the end. A huge thanks to Stevie for sending this footage over. Really appreciate it. And also the audio from Brendan Rodgers' post-match press conference that he was at. So he covers a lot of ground here. Have a wee listen to what the boss had to say.
It was a fantastic performance. I thought we were electric going forward. We scored 3 and we look at the other chances we had in the game was very, very good, but also equally as pleasing, defensively solid and strong, and right to the very end. Kasper makes a really good save. But overall, it was such a great day for us, and it just continues that the quality, the speed, the intensity of which we've been playing. You go back to the 27th of June, all the work the players, the staff, the club have put in right the way through the transfer window, and obviously to arrive at this point with how we've been playing and with so much more development to come, then of course it's really pleasing. So, but no, it was a really hectic week, a busy week, and obviously this at the end, which was what we wanted to do, was play well and win, and we've done that. If we compare it to this time last season, it was a wee bit flat, and I think we sensed, like you just sensed before the game started, there's a great energy in the crowd, and that's what you want your team to bring. So I think they're enjoying watching the team, the quality of the game, and yeah, it's but there's still such a long way to go. But all you can do is make the first step in a positive way, and the players clearly have done that. Well, I don't know where we would have been without Liam last year. You know, when he came in and playing away at Ibrox, and all the challenges that he's had from a player that was maybe going to leave. You know, he's such an important member of this squad, and but we knew we were going to go deep in competitions and challenge and be able to recover players. We had to get that quality into the building. So and thankfully we've been able to do that. And you know, I asked for that with the club, and the club have been first class in that, bringing players in, bringing the level that we want, and that'll hopefully serve us well going forward. Just he's very honest to the game, Paolo. He's got quality. Feels he should have scored. He's done a wonderful piece of skill in the box, and that would have made it 3-0 in the first half. And it didn't quite make it a clean strike. But no, overall, I thought he was he was very good. Again, I go back to pre-season because it's such an important period for us to establish a lot of principles and build on them. And we've seen that over the course of the pre-season. The players have just continued to work really well, and now they're into the competitive phase. They've continued with that. So, it's an exciting team, working well. Now a little bit of recovery for some. Others will go internationally and then get back here and keep that consistency, because that's always the challenge. But we consistently, from the end of last season, pre-season and now, consistency is definitely there. It's very, very hard to do everything you want to do in one window. But if you look at the work that has gone into here at the club with the players, not just the players in, but players going out, there's been so much that we've needed to do in order to get the squad to where we want it to be. So always a manager will always want a little bit more, but I can't complain. We've done some great business, great work over the course of the window with the players we've brought in, going right back to Casper and all the guys. So that's been really, really good, and we'll need that throughout the course of the season.
McCann looked like he was at home out there as well. You feel you can really hit the ground running here.
No, it's so nice for him, and I think for the young guys, a Celtic supporter as well, it was a dream for him to get out there. And he'll. It's one of those games, the Celtic Rangers games. They bring a different aspect to your lungs and your legs. So he's gone onto the pitch and he's worked hard and showed some really nice touches. And again, a player that over the course of the season will be important for us. So really nice for him. Great for Arna to come in. You just see his elegance on the pitch, and for a young guy, he's got huge potential, and that's why we brought him in. So lots of growth in all the players.
Do you feel the business you've done has taken the squad up another level? Obviously a really good performance on the pitch, and then you look behind you to the bench, the likes of Arna Engels, Austin Trusty, Adam Ida, that hadn't started the game. Do you feel the squad is now at that next level that you were looking for?
Well, I just think there's development there, but having that possibility to do that is obviously, it's really nice as a coach and manager, because we've all had moments in our career where maybe you don't quite have the players that can make the impact. But that's what we've been trying to build, and that was the importance of pre-season and getting that depth into the squad. And we look at it, and it's a really healthy squad.
So Brendan Rodgers mentioning pre-season, I think 2 or 3 times there, and the importance of the work that was done over the course of pre-season. And we've seen that at the start to the season we've made. And yeah, it was a really hectic week there. It was always going to be, with us needing to get in all those players, and the build-up to yesterday's game, and the Champions League draw being made as well last week. And at times, yesterday's game felt like a bit of an afterthought. I think for Brendan Rodgers and the team, it would have been the main focus, and I think we saw that yesterday. But we can kind of pause and take stock now of the first couple of months of the season, including pre-season. And July, August, at times it was frustrating transfer-wise. Things took far too long. I think the club probably got there in the end, and we have a squad we can work with now, and a squad filled with a number of exciting players who are only going to get better, and also players who maybe some people have written off, like Liam Scales and Greg Taylor, who performed so well yesterday and are still going to offer a lot going forward. I think we've moved on a lot of players who weren't going to feature this season, and I think that's important as well. Brendan Rodgers always wants a tight squad to deal with, and he's got that. We have made a fabulous, faultless start to the domestic season, 5 wins from 5. Some tough matches in there as well, and you just feel that the team are just getting started there. And we now know our Champions League draw, and it's been a pretty favourable draw. It's going to be tough. The matches are going to be difficult. When the fixtures came out, I actually felt they looked more difficult in a weird way, and there's going to be a lot of pressure in that opening game against Slovan Bratislava to get the 3 points. But we should feel really good about Celtic right now. Really good, and so excited for what's going to come. I think Celtic on the pitch are I think we're as good. This team are as good as any Celtic team has been in the last decade. I believe that. And we've had good teams in that time. You know, Ange's team was brilliant a couple of years ago. Brendan Rodgers Invincibles, you know, really good teams. I think this team right now is as good as that. I think they're as exciting as that. And I just can't wait to see us go into the Champions League and just really hope we do ourselves justice. We'll go into international break now, a couple of weeks to calm down a bit and, as I say, take stock of things. There'll be plenty of discussion over that period, and then we come back and it's going to be really full on. We're going to be looking at 2 games most weeks, majority of weeks, big European tests pretty quickly soon after we come back. And that's what I'm looking at for this next chunk. I'll be honest, you know, the domestic stuff's always going to be there, and the team I think will be fine generally. Might drop some points, but I think fine generally. But I'm looking at the Champions League over this next chunk, and let's really take this form into that competition. I think if we play like we've been playing, given some of the fixtures we've got, I think we'll pick up points. So I'm so excited to go into that. I'm counting down the days until this international break is over and we can move on. But yeah, time to get excited about this Celtic team, and I hope we're all feeling like that. And yeah, plenty of talking to be done over the international break. Tomorrow, there's loads of things I want to speak about that I haven't quite been able to do today. We'll take a look at the Champions League fixtures, the overall squad depth, and I'm sure there'll be a number of other things that come out. We're going to keep doing videos every day during the international break as well, so you don't have to worry about that at all. So enjoy your Monday, and we'll catch up again tomorrow.